There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's up, and welcome to the first video movie review of the program guys have ever done. I'm Ryan Tyson, and I'm stoked to be adding this medium, visual movie review medium, to our growing umbrella of content. Before we get kind of into the movie itself, I want to start with a little bit of housekeeping. Go check out the Program Guys. We have our Program Guys podcast that comes out weekly. Mark and Pat have been doing great college football roundups every single week. We have post games every single week that you should go check out. If you're in the sports at all, go check us out. You can find us on all of our socials: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. You can find our audio on Spotify or any of your other audio channels that you may use. I use Spotify, but preferences are aplenty. Give us a follow on those. We really appreciate your support, and any way that you can check in with the program, we really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to start these movie reviews. This is something I've wanted to do for a really long time. I just really haven't had the time to do it until now. So I appreciate you guys if you are watching this. Maybe like the 15 people of you that are watching this. I appreciate you being here. And I'm excited to also be partnering these video movie reviews with written movie reviews that you can find on programguyz.com. You can find them the same time that this video goes up. We will publish the written review online. So if we go through some of this and you're like, man, I wish I had more context to this movie, or, oh, Ryan missed something in it, go check out the written review. I can do much more in a written review, and I can say much more in a written review, so please go check that out. So how are these reviews going to work? Let's start there. If you're an original listener of the Program Guys podcast, you'll remember that there used to be a segment called Ryan's Must Watch. I went over movies, I went over TV shows that I was finding interesting at the time, or not interesting. Sometimes I gave bad reviews. We've realized that is not the right place for this content to be. This is kind of a niche content. So we wanted to give it like its own space. So that's why we've created this visual medium of being able to give reviews on recent movies and, really my thoughts and opinions on if you should go see it or if you should pay money to go see this movie. That's really what we're going to be talking about. We've separated it from the main pod. This is its own thing moving forward. And we're really going to be listening to y'all to say, does this even work? Is this worth having? Or should we change it up even more? So let us know. Let us know in the comments, please. So overall, what can you expect from these? I think is a question most people would have when they're first watching a new thing. And I would say that these videos are going to be short snippets. I expect 5 to 10 minutes. They are going to be over recent movie releases specifically. That's not to say that I won't do a throwback review every once in a while. I might be tempted. But most of the time, these are going to be recent releases in theaters. Also, most of the time, this is going to be me talking to a camera, like a talking head. So this is my first attempt at that. I'm probably not very good, but I'm going to get better. So, stay along for the ride. We're going to get there. And I think it's going to be a really great journey. Also, not to say that I might not be able to convince some of my Program Guys podcast co-hosts to jump in here with me and talk about a movie that they find interesting. Just most of this will be mostly me talking to you, giving you my thoughts, things along those lines. Frequency. So movies come and go. Some movies, some seasons have a lot of movie releases. We are heading into December right now, which is historically one of the biggest movie release months of the year. Summer is also usually quite large when it comes to movie releases. We'll get into the dark days of February and March where not a lot comes out. So I can't promise that I'm going to be here every week reviewing the newest and greatest release. I do have a personal life that I need to keep track of, but I do go to see 1 to 2 movies a week usually. It's just something I really enjoy and something I love to do. So I'm hoping to get to the point where I can, at least contribute something once a week, once every 2 weeks, but I can't promise you a timeline right now. I think that's enough housekeeping. So again, I said these are going to be 5 to 10 minutes. Keep in mind that this one will probably be a little longer because it's an introduction and we need to kind of get situated and let people know what we're doing. So now that we have the housekeeping out of the way, I want to introduce the first movie that I'm going to be talking about. This is a prequel to a massively successful box office smash of a series, and it has been the #1 movie in America / the world for the last 3 weeks since it released on November 17th. The first movie that we're going to talk about for Program Guyz Movie Reviews is The Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So this movie is directed by Francis Lawrence, who is the original, would he technically be considered the original director of the Hunger Games franchise? He did not direct the first one, but he directed 2 through 4. So the majority of the Hunger Games fell to him when it came to direction. So he's picked up kind of the mantle along with distributor Lionsgate, who released all first of the 4 original movies. And it's not really a surprise that they brought this back in 2023. The first movie, starring Jennifer Lawrence, came out in 2012, and this works as a prequel to that. And that original series made over $3 billion at the box office. So of course, Lionsgate is looking at this and like, can we achieve more money in the box office from this? And it's been 11 years. It's been a while since the original movie came out. So it's been a while since we've been in this world, and there's a massive fan base for this story in this series. Ballad is based on a book, just like the originals were. It was written in 2020. This new movie really acts as an origin story for the main antagonist of the original series. This is Coriolanus Snow. I think I'm saying that name right. It is 64 years set in the past before we meet Katniss in the future. So we come in to meet Katniss in the original Hunger Games series at the 74th annual Hunger Games, I believe. This takes place around the 10th annual Hunger Games. Takes place as Snow, a young man at this time, is chosen to be a mentor to a participant in the Hunger Games, in the 10th Hunger Games. Her name is Lucy Gray Baird, and she's from District 12, the female tribute from District 12. If that sounds familiar, that's because that is exactly where Katniss was from in the original series. The film chronicles the relationship between Snow and Gray. It chronicles the actual Hunger Games themselves and Gray's participation in them, and then it looks at the aftermath of it and really dives into the questions of how does this man, who's our protagonist in this movie, break bad and become the antagonist in the later films. So, like most of my must-watches that I've done in the past, I'm going to break this down into a couple different categories, starting with like what I liked, and then what I didn't like, and then if I'm going to recommend it at all. So, what I liked, let's start with that. Rachel Zegler, who plays Lucy Gray, is an actress that most people will know from a couple years ago. She starred in West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's rendition of West Side Story. West Side Story is historically a very, very well-known musical. That movie was very successful. That movie was, I quite liked it. And I thought Rachel Zegler was really great in the role of Maria. And so I expected a lot coming into this movie because I really haven't seen her since then. And honestly, she's one of the best parts of this movie. She imbues this character with a lot of warmth and a lot of compassion and a lot of relatability. The audience is watching this film and saying, oh, I know that character, or I've heard of that. There's a lot of Easter eggs. And you're basically with Snow the entire time, a character how that ends up and where that goes if you've seen the original series. And so it's hard to really care about the new characters, but she makes you care about Lucy Gray. And I think that's really on the strength of her performance. She has a lot of charisma about her. She's a brand new character, and it's really hard to say, how do we care about this character when there's other characters we already know, right? There's also sporadic musical numbers throughout the movie. I think there's about 6 or 7 of them, so there's quite a few. Zegler is a trained singer. You can go watch West Side Story if you want to see her sing pretty much the entire movie. She's really, really good. And while I don't always think these musical numbers work for the film, I think she's really talented. And it's kind of hard to deny her talent when she's up there singing for the movie. I think they could have done a better job placing some of those, but it doesn't take away from her performance, and I think she's really able to show how strong of a character Lucy Gray is and why you should care about this particular character. There's other strong performances across this movie. I want to shout out one in particular of Viola Davis, who plays Dr. Volumnia Gall. I hope I'm saying that right. She goes full mad scientist here. It's pretty incredible to watch, and I love Viola Davis and everything. She is a Academy Award winning actress, and I'll watch her in pretty much anything. She completely disappears into this role, and it's really, really cool to see her play evil, but also, work as sort of a mentor to the main character, who's Snow. I would really just, if you do go see this movie, she's great to watch. And so is Zegler. Those are the two performances that stand out really, really highly for me. Another non-performance high in my mind was the production design. I was really excited to be back in the space of Pan Am and back in the Hunger Games world. It's a really cool place to even, when you're reading the book, it might be popping into your head what this could look like. It's cool to see it brought to life. The original, so this is the 10th annual Hunger Games, so this is much earlier than the new ones. So the technology is not as advanced. It feels more archaic, and the production design of the sets and of the arena itself do a really, really great job of showing that. And it makes you feel like you're there. I would say that because of the production design, my favorite part of this movie is when they're in the games. So it's split probably 3 different ways, I think. And the second part of this movie is about the games. And that's, in my opinion, the best part of the movie. It is action-packed. It is incredibly just, a very strong element to this movie is that particular part. What I don't like, let's get into that, because if you've seen the top of this, I gave this 2 stars out of 5. There's a lot of things here that didn't work for me. I want to start with the length of the movie. It clocks in at about 3 hours, which is, or a little under 3 hours, which is just too long. It's too long. It doesn't work. So, and especially when you're watching the third act, which I believe is the weakest, it feels like it drags. And that's really unfortunate, because that should be the time where you're really nailing what this movie is supposed to be about and what message you're trying to sell. And I don't really think it does that very well. So that leaves me kind of my second criticism, which is the entire character / performance of Snow, I feel like is not as well done as it could have been. Nothing against Tom Blythe, who plays Snow throughout this movie, who I think is actually a pretty talented actor. I don't feel like he's given enough to work with here. He's in almost every single scene. He takes up the majority of the screen time, as expected. And it's a lot of weight to put on an actor's shoulders to do that. But when you also have writing and stuff that is not helping the character's decision making or making the audience question the decision making, it doesn't really work. And the movie never really sells me on how did we get from this man who is mentoring this woman in the 10th annual Hunger Games, how did he become this tyrannical president who is a terrible person in the later movies? Yeah, it doesn't really get there for me. And I think that's kind of unfortunate because that is the biggest failure of the movie, in my opinion. If that is the ultimate thing that you were trying to show, it doesn't work. Not for me, at least. So ultimately, like, would I recommend this? I gave it 2 stars. If you're a massive Hunger Games fan, go see it. I think you'll enjoy being back in the world, and you'll enjoy being back in the space that is Panem and the Hunger Games itself. If you're not, I wouldn't bother with it. I don't think it's a good enough movie to go out there and try to understand the entire universe. I don't think it's worth that. And I want to apologize because I chose this movie as our inaugural movie review, and I kind of picked a dud. So I'm hoping that the following ones coming up in the next few months will be a little better. So that's it. That's it for our first one. Again, we want to know, did this work? Did this not work? Was this weird? I'm talking to a camera the whole time, so maybe it was. I don't know. But like, let us know. Give me feedback. I'm always looking to improve, and I'm always looking to make this better. But in the meantime, don't forget to check out our main pod. We drop weekly. And please check it out on YouTube. Give us a subscription. You'll see me there. You'll see all of my guys there as well. If you're at all interested in sports or just, 5 guys who've known each other since college talking to each other every week, give us a follow. We really appreciate the support. Check all of our socials, Twitter, Instagram, all of them, all of our video and audio places, YouTube, Spotify. If you listen to our actual podcast, you'll know Mason does this spiel so much better than I do. And then I'm hoping to get a better film for you guys next time. I have a couple in my mind, and I've seen a couple that I really liked, some I didn't like as much. So we'll see what comes next. But until next time, in the words of my German co-host, who I love dearly, keep pushing it, baby.
3, 2, 1.
There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.